artist at Epic Games. The title of this presentation is Concepts and Complex Construction. We've all seen concepts that have been open to interpretation, and we've all seen within those concepts very complex designs. I would like to go over a few things that I do in the latest version of ZBrush to solve some of these problems. But first, I would like to go over my UI. This is something I'm doing now. Basically in the upper right there, you can see Next UI Layout. Click that until you get to Sculpt 01. I put some common functions there up at the top. You can see the store morph target. I'm a big fan of that one. On the left, a few materials to switch through and a few alphas I like. And on the bottom, common brushes that aren't set to shortcut keys, and also some brushes that I want to be practicing in the future. Okay, let's get into this. It's concept proofing in ZBrush. ZBrush is very fast with Dynamesh that there's no real problem in taking something and proving it out so that you can make sure that we're all on the same page. If we, this is Alex Brand for Gears of War Judgment. We move into the concept here. On the left, Jay Hawkins has come up with a cool concept for Alex Brand. A lot going on, a lot of detail, a lot of room here for interpretation. If we look at the breakout of this backpack over here on the right, everybody's going to see something different. People here are probably seeing something different. But with ZBrush and Dynamesh, we can get out a quick little Z concept to show to the lead, show to the art director, and get everybody on the same page, make sure that things are cool. So here's the actual backpack that I did for Alex Brand for Gears of War Judgment, using Dynamesh, just basically blocking out the basic forms of the backpack as I saw it. From there, I broke it up into some panels, and then I like to refine that a little bit before bringing it in for some detailing. And then there's the final backpack that I did detailed up. So here's a video displaying that I did for SIGGRAPH, going over this again. You'll notice I don't really add divisions or go into Dynamesh right away. I find that the topology kind of allows me to have some fun little inventive things that might just pop up. And here you can see I'm using the Move tool. I use the Move tool a lot. It's probably the #1 tool that I use in ZBrush, especially in these early parts where you're just trying to lay out the basic forms. I forgot a panel in the concept, so I need to get that panel in there. It's basically like a ramp brush with like a ramped alpha, and you can just drag that along and get another panel in there. And then with a pinch tool, I like to go in, hold Alt, maybe with a heavy brush mod, and just kind of pinch around those edges to kind of knock in a panel. Pinch is really good for forcing things into place. Still changing the proportions. It's never too late to change the proportions. That's the main thing that matters there. So I'm using a lot of Move, some pinch, maybe a little bit of trim dynamic. So this is something I like to do. Inflate allows to push some form really heavily and quickly, so I inflate it up, and then I get the flatten tool, and I just do some quick along the edges there, and just knock in a secondary little tech object. And I've done that at the bottom there as well. So that's just inflate and flatten back and forth. It gets a nice volume chunky piece. So I'm not liking the proportions here between these two panels. They're sharing the same space. I don't like that at all. So I take a pinch brush, and with a large brush in a one swoop, I go across the panel and I change the relationship to more of a 70-30 ratio, which I like a lot better. I like the pinch brush with a large brush for that. And in ZBrush, I just reproportion the entire backpack in a couple little swoops there, and I like what I'm seeing. Okay, I'm getting a little more confident now. I'm liking the relationships of the shapes here a little bit better. So I'm using a little more trim dynamic, a little more pinch, and yeah, a little more flatten. But something's missing. You see this in Gears of War a lot. I need a 45-degree bevel here. So a trim dynamic with a long lazy mouse tail, and I drag it along the edge to just kind of knock in a little 45-degree bevel there. And I'm going to be doing this around the backpack. You'll see I do it on the outside edge right there, and around the bottom, and all over the place. So I'm using a lot more trim dynamic now. I know this is the part that I want to detail later, so I just kind of flatten it off with trim dynamic. And then here at the end, I just use the Move tool, and I just set the model at an angle, tug it upwards, get the trim dynamic out, and just trim around that a little bit. Okay, so here's the backpack that I will be detailing for the demo here today. But first, I would like to show that I retopologized it to break it into panels. There's a lot of different ways to skin this pad. different tools, different ways of going about this. If you want to just get some quick divisions or have something real fast to start with, you could use the new powerful ZRemesher tool. But here I'm using the topology tool because I want the points along key areas, including along the edges of the 45-degree little chamfers I did. So I just want to get things to be, you know, right around the areas that I want them. And I'm not putting a lot in between those spots in the panel so that things can kind of come out smooth there. And I end up with something like this. And here's a quick little slide to demonstrate that I might clean it up, split it into the panels, shell it, and then get it ready for detailing. But first I would like to go over with you the basic set of tools I'll be using to detail. There's a basic set of bars, rings, and dips. I find that if you use very basic alphas, you can come up with some really creative things. Forcing yourself to use these constraints, you can kind of come up with cool little details. And I would like to demonstrate that for you now. So live demo. Okay. Let's do this. So the thing here is to have fun. I use a lot of like drag dot and drag rec, and with these basic shapes here, this little we'll grab this bar, and this up. So these are in the concept, you know, these like, these little things here that I'll just kind of drag on and try to make them look nice and even. I'm going to crank my focal shift up so I don't get like that messiness with the alpha. So with this basic bar, I can also go in, I'm going to crank up the intensity a little bit, and I might just do something like this down here with Alt, and then release off, and with the same alpha, just drag like a little thing in there. It looks like it might be a little latch that you would hit to like pop a panel off. Maybe same alpha, just kind of drag a little trough in there, like that. And that's just with the one alpha. You don't need to just keep making like custom alphas for everything. And as you play around, you kind of like discover some of these little things with the different ones. You see I have some separate panels here, and I'm using symmetry. Symmetry's on with, I like to use Littleton, actually. And I'll grab this. And even though these two are not connected, I might do something like this. And come over here, just like line up another one like that. Push it back in there. So even if it's not connected together, I will go across with things like this, and then sometimes, you know, maybe try to put like another little fun one in there, like so. And then if they are connected across, just kind of have another till in there, and this just takes some playing around. And I just like to try to get something that looks right. Like that, and then letting off at the same alpha, just a little just maybe like that. Just using the same alphas. I like these little chamfer pockets. So there's a new feature in ZBrush, the little dynamic up here. It tries to keep the size of this staying the same whether you zoom in or out. That can kind of help for putting down some of these little guys here. I'm going to use a drag rec though on this. And just little vents around here. Like that. But that's pretty simple. Something that's kind of hard to do with ZBrush lately, but sometimes I like to try to kick things at an angle with the alphas. I'll play around and do something like that and get like it to distort. This is kind of fun to do. I just suggest playing around, and you know, you can kind of pick things at an angle and see like it looks like a little piece that goes into a socket. So with any basic alpha you have, like I like to try to get things at an edge there, and then the same. If I put like a bolt in there. Okay. So now I'm going to put some detail here on the backpack. Just a little pin around to get it right. This. Like that. And then grab these thin rings here. Sometimes when I'm doing this, I like to turn off preference, edit, line curve, surface, and turn that off. Now it's not following the surface. Just focus on around this, a little deep. I like to do these kind of inside the little angled area as well. That can be kind of cool, make it look like there's a little cup in there. And take the bucket. So. Just right here. Oops. Like that. And then once you have something like this, sometimes I like to just take like big alphas and try some things over it. So it's never too late to grab. This one comes with ZBrush. It's just alpha 48. It's a big dome. I use this for so many things. I'll use it to reproportion things around, rivets, negative dips. This one can be used for a lot. Let's go. Just drop this entire thing on top of it. So. Having some difficulty there. So it's never too late to just, you know, pop something out like that. Usually you'll think about working with the large forms first, and then working down to the smaller details. But sometimes I'll just like build out like little mentions of details and stuff, and then just like try a different alpha and just pop it the entire piece out like that. And then like while I have that, this, like that, grab the move tool, and you get used to that sort of thing, and then you don't have to have a custom alpha for this type of stuff. I recommend using basic shapes and then just forcing yourself to use the move tool, and with the new powerful trim dynamic and smoothing tools, you can just kind of distort things into place and then trim around it and clean up if you need. Down here. Just like this in here, then just go positive, just go negative again. When I'm doing this sort of thing, I'm trying to think of the construction. This is working really fast here, but the inside piece there, when you think about the story of the backpack, Alex Brand's like a really rough character. She's been taking the backpack, she's been throwing it on the ground, you know, banging up against the wall, taking cover. So you try to think of like, this is a rubber ring, it's being protected by this design of having a cup that goes inward like that. So when you're doing these things, try to think about the construction from the ground up. In fact, sometimes I like to build from the ground up, but in this case, I'm just starting from the top and pushing down. So this little ring needs to be protected, otherwise it snaps something and this pops off and the whole thing falls apart. And then, so when you think about this thing hitting the ground, this area here would be where you would start putting damage, just thinking about the story of her and the story of the backpack, in order to kind of create some believability. And I wouldn't really use these tools to do damage, but I was just giving the idea of basically the thought process that you can go into when you're just laying down some details. A lot of times it's cool to have the construction in the back of the backpack there, and then just some like nice panels over the top of it. And take, there's a thin bar in here. Okay. Now I'm just putting splits on the backpack right over the other details. A lot of these splits are in our concept. And you can just do this like this, and then from the beginning I've stored a morph target. I keep that. I get upset if I forget to use it, because there's always some little thing that you can do, like take the morph brush here, take a hard full shift, okay? Like that, and we can get this back. We don't want that there. It goes by. And then with the morph brush, with things like this, you can come back in and just put in these cool little edges and stuff like that. And it's morphing it back to the original backpack. But with that little tool there, you have options to play with these sort of things without having to painstakingly, deal with, sometimes you can take, and you practice this sort of thing, you just get a move tool, start pulling things at edges and stuff like that. And then, and who doesn't like rivets? You need to get some rivets in there, bring it together. And there we go. Here's the final backpack that I did for Alex Brand for Years Before Judgment. Moving on, I would like to move into the Infiltrator demo. I did the Infiltrator character model for this demo, and I would like to go over some similar solutions like I did with Alex Brand. On the left here, we have an awesome concept by James Hawkins. This concept's great. It's got all types of stuff going on, details, objects, really crazy stuff. There's the model on the right. We need to get to that. Zooming in, just on the face alone, we've got a lot of complex detail that is open to interpretation here. What connects where, what exactly is some of these pieces. If you break out just that piece on the bottom of his mask there, that's how I interpreted it in the bottom right. That's what I wanted. When I started thinking about creating that, I knew booleans, the powerful booleans tool in ZBrush is going to be paramount for creating that. The contiguous surface and the way that the lines come in. I didn't want to attempt it in just a standard modeling package. So I'd like to go into that. There's a basic piece there. There's a cup that I'm going to carve out, and that's the polys are flipped on that. And then there's a nub that I'm going to be welding back in to get to that final look. So here we go. This is the Control+D adds divisions. I like to use that shortcut a lot. And I just divide it up till I have enough polys. And here I'm going to do 1024. You're going to want to play with this. If you hit Dynamesh and it takes way too long, it's too high. But if you come over here and hit polyframe, you can just have a quick look, make sure it's decent. I poly enough. Okay, we're going to add in our second piece. You can see the polys are flipped, and I'm setting it to subtract. And then I'm going to go down, and I'm going to merge this down. Hit OK. And then I control drag in the space, and it's going to carve this out, and you're going to notice some razor sharp edges. I'm going to get into that later. There we go, that's cut out. And I'm just going to add in that third piece there. I'm going to leave that on addition by just leaving it alone. Select the base piece, hit merge down, hit OK. Once again, control drag, space. We'll gluing that together. And then I needed to clean it up a little bit. I think if I was a little more careful, I wouldn't have to, but the tools are awesome. It's just basically trim dynamic, smooth and polish, or flatten, and I have those set on shortcut keys, and I'm just basically smoothing the surface there and sharpening up on those edges coming in. I like to use a shiny material on stuff like this, and I don't look at the object. I actually just look at the shiny part, and I roll it across the surface to kind of see where it warbles. It feels robotic. And as you do that, you just, wherever it warbles, you just start to fix it using the tools. And then I'm using the smooth tool there on those razor sharp edges to knock it back so that it matches the other edges around there. The sharpness gave it some play so I could get that final object. Here we go with the, very similar to the backpack. I want to get some low poly in there. So I'm going to use a topology brush, and I'm just going to run around the key edges until I get a nice new low poly. There is the final low poly. What I like to do is turn SMT off, which is next to the divide there, and then divide it twice. Keeps it close to the original model. It's basically like a test leg. I'm going to turn SMT back on. We're going to divide it up. I went to 1 million, but whatever you want to do there for high-end polys. Display the original model, and then we're going to do a project-all. With this project-all, you're going to want to hit undo and play with the distance a little bit and hit project-all again. Don't just keep mashing project-all. You get all sorts of a mess. Try to, undo, play with it, and try to get it in one shot. One shot seems to be the best. Here we can step through the divisions. Now we have an optimized object, which Mark will be talking about this a little bit later. And also we have a low division to start a low poly for an in-game asset. But maybe you don't want that. You don't care about the low poly. You're just like, I want some divisions, and I want to be able to manipulate this object on a low level. Well, you're in luck. ZBrush 4 R6, the new hotness is ZRemesher. I started using this recently, and I've used it a lot since it has come out, both at work and at home. This has become a very common function for me. So here we go, same object. I'm going to check it out. It's decimated. That's okay. We're going to come down here, and we're going to grab our slice curve. Okay. Real quick first, make sure perspective is off. I want to hit this thing straight on. And with Control and Shift, I click off the object there and I slice through it like that, and I'm getting groups. Special thanks to Carver from ZBrush Central for this. I think he posted this like last week on ZBrush Central. So thanks, Carver. And it's really cool. Basically, you just slice through there. I'm hitting those same points like I did with the topo brush, just around the edges until I get something like this. And then once we got what we like, we go to stroke, curve functions. We need to turn border, increase edges off, and hit frame mesh. And now we have our edges for ZRemeshering. Go into ZRemesher. I set that to 1, target polygon, and I crank the curve strength all the way up. Why not? Try to get it as close to the guides as I can, and I hit ZRemesher. It's still a little high for me. It's cool, but it's still a little high, so I set it to 0.2, and I hit ZRemesher again. And here we go. I have my low poly. And I display the original model very similarly. SMT off, a couple divisions, SMT back on, light it up. In the interest of time, I just crank the distance up and hit project all. And there we go. I have my object with the divisions now. Really fast with ZRemesher. So there's the piece right there. And this is the previs image that I did for the team, so we can have an idea what it looks like, how things transform, the mask comes down, comes up. Just an overall pre-visualization image. A lot of the objects you see here use the methods I was talking about, so booleans, cutting out edges and stuff like that, and using Dynamation, just getting out a quick concept of things. But this isn't the entire character. The entire character is right here. This is broken up into separate ZTL files. Each thing that you see here is its own ZTL file. Doesn't start out this way. Starts out all together so art directors, leads, people can see it. We can make sure that he looks cool. We're liking where it's going. From there, the trust is, okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to detail this up, and we need this to be done quickly. Quick turnaround here. So in order for it to get this done quickly, I decided that I wanted to break it up into these separate things. But I worked in a certain order. I actually worked from the inside out, starting with the body there, in the upper left, maybe to the legs, maybe over to the head. Each time I move over, I bulk Z-decimate the entire file, the entire chunk. You can just maybe set one and go get something to drink or eat. And you can see it here in the colored objects. I append those back into the pieces so that I can see the proportions and the details and relationships of shapes across the pieces adjacent to each other. That allows me to work quickly, but still keeps things in order and makes sure things are looking good. When you work this way, you get to slam out divisions really fast. People can come by and you can have things quickly looked at and approved, and you can kind of reuse things, stuff like that. Do quick decimations, get low polys out. I have the sub-tools and polys for each of these up here. So sub-tools, 7K polys. Some of them are pretty crazy. But what I want to focus on here is 215 million polys across 350 sub-tools about. That's for the entire character. When you do something like that, like I said, not only can you reuse things and move fast, but also you can create really awesome color maps for your texture artists. They look like this. And you hand these off to your texture artists, they get excited. You can break things out into different materials, do different effects with this, texture it up, goes down the pipeline, and eventually ends up in Unreal Engine 4. This is a screen grab from our real-time demo, Unreal Engine, for our Infiltrator demo. And what you are looking at here is the culmination of a lot of talented, awesome artists I get to work with every day at Epic Games. These guys here, it's great. And I would like to hand it off now to one of those awesome, talented artists.